For many cultures today, the modern era has eroded their foundations and practices, alienating people from the makings and marks of their heritage. If you ask the average Italian American, they can't name the city their family is from. If you ask the average Irish American, they can't name any Irish history besides the potato famine of 1879. If you ask a German American, and please excuse my cat, to name some cultural practices from their history, they won't be able to name any. This is, of course, an affect of those races slowly Caucasizing, going from another to white. That said, even if these people cannot identify with any of their culture's beliefs or history, many of them retain recipes. Food is the final aspect of any culture to be eroded, and often is one that's simply not, albeit it may change. The same is true for Native Americans. American history has spent a considerable amount of time eroding Native culture, from wars such as King Philip's War to the War of 1812, or policies like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 to the Dawes Act of 1887. The primary goal of the American government throughout our history has been to erode indigenous culture and civilize them. Today, many indigenous Americans struggle with their cultures, finding it difficult to get in contact with their histories. That said, recipes from their cultures have survived, and in honor of that, I've decided to cook recipes from The Modern Navajo Kitchen by Alana Yazzi. So today I'm going to be making blue corn flour tortillas, and I'm going to be making some braised red chili mutton stew. I looked at syllabaries of the Navajo language in an attempt to pronounce the Navajo or Diné names for both of these dishes. And not only was I not able to, even with the syllabaries, as someone who has a language with a lot of weird pronunciations, I'm Sicilian, hearing people mispronounce words from my language can be very frustrating and oftentimes a little bit upsetting. So I will not be attempting it out of reverence. There's two more things I'd like to note. This cookbook, which I'm cooking from, which Alana Yazzi is a Navajo chef. This is by Navajo people. The Navajo Hopi Inquirer has an interview with her. It's a really great interview. I'd give it a read over. But she has in the back of the book some places where you can buy Navajo goods. So Navajo blue cornmeal and juniper ash are both ingredients that are very, very important to Navajo cuisine. Because this cookbook arrived for me yesterday, and I live in upstate New York, which is not anywhere near Navajo land, or we don't have a very large Navajo population here either, I was not able to source either of those things locally. So I had to just get what I could, because this assignment is due in a few days and I really had to cook today, kind of crunch time. So I am using blue cornmeal I got off of Amazon. This is just what they had for one-day delivery. And I don't have any juniper ash, but you don't need them. The food is probably not gonna look the same, right? I'm not gonna have this beautiful kind of blue-gray color to my tortillas, but that's okay. If you are going to cook these recipes, please go out and buy from these websites. Each of these listings has websites for the things they have. And they have a lot of very good products that are owned by Native American people, and you really should try to support Native American people. I apologize for my cat. He's never gonna stop meowing no matter what I do, and I can't put him outside. He's an indoor cat. So with that said, I am gonna start cooking. First, you wanna add your dry ingredients together. So I'm gonna start by adding my 1 cup of flour, my ½ cup of blue cornmeal, my ½ teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I pre-measured all these things. And I'm just using my hands and mix these things together. Just give them a good mix together. I've never made tortillas before this, so we're gonna see how that goes. This is my first foray into making them. I've made a lot of Hispanic food before, but I've made tamales before. Max Miller, who inspired me to do this actually, has a great recipe for tamales from the Aztec Empire, and they have frog in them, which was really fun to make, as much as it was labor intensive. I really like nopales, and one of my favorite ingredients to cook with, but that's neither here nor there. So once you have this all mixed together, we're gonna get a little flour on the book. Add your tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. If you're gonna buy olive oil, I like to buy from Sicilian brands. Support my home country. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I'll put it in there. And then I'm just gonna incorporate it into my hands. You can wear gloves for this. My gloves are in another room, and I just don't care. So, kind of mix it together pretty good. These clumps, try to break them up because there's little pockets of liquid olive oil in there. Then, add a half cup of warm water. This is a full cup of warm water in this measuring cup. Apologize for my dog drinking. I'm not going to stop my animals from drinking or eating while I'm cooking. That feels wrong to me, you know. So it's important to note when cooking recipes from other cultures, you know, about the cultural significance of A, the food, and B, the cultures themselves. If we look at tellings of the Navajo origin stories according to their religion, the Navajo religion, the Diné religion, corn is very important to them. In one retelling, it's said that in the first world, and in the Navajo origin story, there are 4 or 5 worlds, right, that people went through. There were 4 clouds. And east and west cloud were black and white. And the black cloud was representative of mothers and mothering, right? It was the eternal darkness from whence first life came. And the white light was men. It was the dawn. It was the new age. And where they met was first people, or first person, and corn, fields of white corn. For the tribes that came from the ancestral Pueblo people, corn is very, very important. It was the major subsistence of their agriculture, right? And these were agrarian societies. You know, other ancestral Pueblo peoples like the Apache were not, but the Navajos, the Zunis, the Hopis, they were all an agricultural people before the arrival of white men. It's still a little dry. And I did manage to spill a fair amount of flour. It's probably stuck to my hands. So, just gonna knock it in there. And I'm gonna add another 1/4 cup of my warm water. This cornmeal turns beautifully purple when it comes into contact with water. This is my first time filming a video like this, so please excuse the camera angle is every little bad or it's a little wobbly. Doing my best here. I'm gonna do my best to soak up as much of the flour as possible, just because it's a very sticky wet dough. I think we're about as done up as we can be with this. Try and get as much off my fingers as possible because I want to get as many tortillas out of this as possible. So. All right, that's our dough. We're gonna cover it, let it rest for 10 minutes, and when I come back, you guys will see me flattening them out. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the second part, which is going to be making the mutton stew. So, again, I was a little short on time. Bill came in yesterday. I had to kind of deal with what my butcher had. The recipe should be using mutton loin chops. I have a rack of lamb. You can use lamb instead of mutton, obviously, it's the same animal. And the recipe does say that. They didn't have loin chops, so we're making do with lollipop lamb chops. You know, again, we're gonna see how it goes. If it doesn't come out perfectly, it doesn't come out perfectly. What can you do? It's kind of the nature of cooking, improvising, making do with what you had. That's what we're doing now. In a perfect world, I would have bought in loin chops. I would have bought in cheaper loin chops too. These were $72, so you know, Hopefully I get an egg. I put the money in for it. No. I love to cook, and this is good. This is a very good experience. So I'm gonna drain the blood into my sink. I wash my sink daily. This schputz is just because I had to clean my cast iron pan. That's what I'm gonna make the tortillas in. The blood. If you're using loin chops, right, they're gonna have a fair amount of fat. The recipe says to leave 10 to 15% of the fat on there. I'm using lamb lollipop, so there's significantly less fat, right? There's actually no fat. There's just like a little cap of tissue on here. There's some fat over here, but I'm gonna keep it on. It's not a lot. Hopefully this goes well. So, this is my first time butchering lamb chops. Excuse me if I'm not doing it right. Alright, so as you can see, I separated all the lamb chops. I'm going to try and keep this kind of colligative tissue here. I just provide a little bit of fat. I don't know how this is going to go because you're not supposed to use chops, you're supposed to use loin chops. I was working with what I had. I'm going to wash off my knife now because I'm going to need it again in a second. The recipe calls for 8 New Mexico chilies. I did not have access to New Mexico chilies, that specific varietal of chili. But I got some relatively mild chilies. I have guajillo and ancho. Wash my hands too. Got lamb blood on them. Always wash your hands after touching any meat, no matter the quality. Even if it's like sushi grade salmon that you can eat raw, or sushi grade tuna, eat raw. Always wash your hands after interacting with food. So I am going to grab a bowl. I'm going to rinse the chilies under warmish water, about a minute each, just so they can absorb some juices and start to pop back to life. I've never cooked with dried chilies before. This is my first foray into doing something like this with my own salsa. All right, got my chilies rinsed. And I'm going to go through. I'm going to cut them open and clean them out. The capsaicin in chilies is stored almost entirely in the seeds. So try and get as many of those as possible. And I'm just going to toss these right into my blender. We're going to blend them up. You gotta be careful. Last time I was cutting peppers, I was making jalapeno poppers for some event or another. I got jalapeno juice in my eye, and that was not fun. Don't recommend it. To clean your chilies, as far as I'm aware, the method is kind of cut them open, split them open like this. My hands are wet, so all the seeds are sticking to me. Cut them open. Use your knife just to scrape them out. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? If you leave some seeds in there, okay, but try and get the majority of them out. Again, that's where all the heat is, all the capsaicin. You end up with chunky, crunchy chili if you don't get rid of them. And nobody wants chunky, crunchy chili. That sounds very yucky, nasty. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. You can see it's good and steamy in there. And I'm gonna add the garlic. I pre-peeled 6 cloves of garlic, just like the recipe called for. Gonna go on medium for 3 to 4 minutes. All right, after listening to the symphony that is my blender for 3 to 4 minutes, I'm going to strain. Remember, when you do this, don't strain yourself. I'm gonna strain the chili sauce. Find my strainer right there. Put it in the strainer and then give it a little shimmy. I hope my strainer wasn't too fine mesh. Just gonna tap it. Try and get a bunch of it through. Keeping out all the solids. Maybe it was a little too fine, my strainer, huh? All right, now that I have my chili sauce made and strained, right over here, it took a while, and my strainer broke midway through. We're gonna make the sauce proper. So first things first, this is hot. I went to the restroom, so it's a little hotter than it should be. I'm gonna take it down to medium. And I'm gonna add the olive oil. So I think it's 2 teaspoons? Yeah, 2 teaspoons of olive oil. You can see my pan is quite hot at this point. This is a cast iron Dutch oven. It says to use a square baking sheet, but I think a Dutch oven is a little more conducive to this. I like using a Dutch oven personally. Anything you can make in a baking dish, you can make in a Dutch oven, and a Dutch oven has a little bit of je ne sais quoi to it that you don't get with the baking dish. And this is for when I make the tortillas in a moment. So we're gonna let the oil kind of scoot around the whole pan. Scoot around just like this. A little bit of dust in there, but that's all right. And then we're gonna brown. We're not gonna brown. We're gonna brown the lamb chops. So I'm gonna drain some blood. Bella, go lay down. Sorry, I don't like my dogs in the kitchen. I don't want them getting burnt. But let's see, we got our beautiful lamb chops. We're gonna brown it 2 minutes on each side. We don't want to cook them all the way. Brown the outside. All right, so now that I've got all the lamb done, let me zoom out. I've got all the lamb done. There's some giblets left in the pan, but that's good. We're gonna take the chili sauce we made, which I've tried, and it's pretty good. Dip my finger in there and give it another. Gonna put that in there. Try to get as much of it as possible in there. Then I'm gonna go back. This is a secret I learned from my Sicilian mother. If there's anything left in there, grab a little bit of water, because water is a polar solvent. It's not the, this is not what she told me, but this is why it works. And it'll scoop up a bunch more, rock it around, get as much of the sauce as you can, dip it in there, and the water will boil away. And that'll be good. Put that in there. Get some of that off my hand. I'm gonna add just a touch of chili powder, just a touch. I just want a little more heat in there. I like it spicy, I like it hot. So, I'm going in my cabinet. I'm gonna grab, do I wanna do Chipotle or I'm gonna add a touch of cayenne. Just a touch. I'm gonna put it in here. Perfect. So, we're gonna let this boil. All right. Boiling pretty good. We're gonna drop it to low. We're gonna keep it on medium for now, actually. I'm gonna grab my whisk. We're gonna put in the 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and the teaspoon of salt, and then the extra cayenne I added. If you use New Mexican chili powders, I would assume there was a good amount of heat here. I think it's just because I had the wrong chili powders on hand. But I added that. And I'm just gonna whisk it in there. Whisk it good, kind of mix everything up, make sure it's well combined. It smells damn good, dude. We're gonna be banging. Now that that's like that, I'm gonna lower the heat to low. I'm gonna wait 5 minutes. We keep it on medium for 5 minutes, my mistake. Keep it on medium for 5 minutes. And then we're gonna whisk in the cornmeal a tablespoon at a time. So I don't have white cornmeal. Like everything else, I don't have the right ingredients. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. And I'm gonna start to whisk in the cornmeal. 1 tablespoon at a time. I'm gonna use some more of the blue cornmeal I have. I don't have white cornmeal. I couldn't find any with 1-day shipping. And yes, I did order this blue cornmeal 1 day ago. I actually ordered 2 bags because I didn't know how much I was going to need, and because there's some other recipes in there that look pretty good that I was considering making as well. So, but this is half of what I ordered. If you do choose to make these recipes, please buy from the brands in the back of the book. I made sure to show those off explicitly. So go back, take a look. Look at those brands. I'm gonna stir the cornmeal in. That off. I'm gonna add another cornmeal in, or another tablespoon in rather. 2 tablespoons. 2 heaping tablespoons really. I want this to be nice and thick. Get it nice and thick. And the smell of this thing, you know, you guys can't smell it, but it smells ridiculous. Very, very good odors coming off of this thing. Not even odors, scents, I would say, you know. It smells very good. I'm gonna cut back in 5 minutes when I add the lamb, and then I'm gonna stir it up, and then I'm gonna stick it in the oven. Alrighty, so it's been about 5 minutes. I'm gonna lower the heat on this bad boy because I know it's gonna be popping when I open it up. Yep. Big popping. And I'm gonna add my lamb chops back into it, and any of the juices that came out of them. Just like that. I'm gonna mix it around, right, just to make sure that all the chops get some sauce on them. If you're using a separate pan, like I should be, then you would pour the sauce over the lamb chops, but I don't have a separate pan at the moment. A clean one at least. And I'm not trying to make any more dishes than I already have. My sink is already starting to overflow. But now that I got all the chops in there, all the chops covered, we love some good lamb chops here. You know, as much as I don't eat lamb that much. We love the chops. So I'm gonna leave that in there like so. Just like that. I'm hoping that the bones from the chops gonna add some more flavor. Put this here. Then I'm gonna stick this in the oven. So it's gonna simmer for about 3 hours. And that'll be that. And then I'm gonna make the tortillas in a moment. All right, so I got the lamb chops all covered up. I'm leaving the bone on, hoping that I get some good lamb bone flavor in there. And my oven's yelling at me because the door's open, but as you can see, we got it in there. It's gonna go in for about 3 hours. Now I'm gonna make the tortillas. My tortilla dough has been resting for a lot longer than 10 minutes, for better or for the worse, but you know, it's still relatively moist, so with that done, and a fresh pair of tongs. These are my lamb tongs, so put those in the thing. Look at all my dishes. Wow, I got a lot to do tonight. It's not a good thing. I still have to write an essay for this. But with that done, we're gonna take my tortillas, quote unquote, over to the stove. And we're gonna cook them. We're gonna do our best. So, pan is hot. Tortilla going in. I think it's gonna be the best tool for the job. I'm gonna try and spread them out a wee bit more, do our best. This is the worst looking tortilla I think I've ever seen. I cooked this thing too early, I think. So we're gonna leave it like that. It says until you can see bubbles forming on the outside. Don't know if we're gonna see any bubbles. Let me go grab the recipe book. So here it is. Place the dough round on the pan and cook for 1 minute on each side until bubbles start to form and tortilla looks slightly toasted. No bubbles are forming. I think I messed up the dough. I don't know. We're gonna see. They look really purple. I've made ube pancakes before. These kind of look like it. Don't look like the picture. Maybe that's like too not cooked enough. I don't. I don't really know. My sous chef over here. This is my first foray into this, so we'll see how it goes. Is the fire even on? Yeah, it is. Okay. So, I don't know. I'm gonna cut until the next one's ready. So it has been about 3 hours, a little longer than that. The meat is definitely done, temperature-wise. It's cooked all the way through. I've checked it periodically, and it wasn't quite fall apart enough. So I put a lid on it to try and help pressure cook it a wee bit. You can see it's reduced significantly. And it smells spicy. But the meat is falling apart at this point, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm gonna pull it now. I did make 4 tortillas. I ate 2 tortillas with nothing on it because I was very hungry. They're delicious. They look. This is perhaps not my most beautiful creation. I will admit to that readily. And it is not the fault of Ms. Yazzi. You know, this is not a reflection of the cookbook. I'm sure if I knew how to make tortillas, they would be much better looking. But here is the stew. So, turning off my oven now. I'm going to serve myself a plate. We're going to see how it goes. So as you all can see, I'm in a different outfit. It's not the next day, it's still the same day. I just had to change because I spilled something on myself. And my sous chef over here wants a bite. So I'm going in for the first bite now. I think it's going to be spicy, but we'll see. It's not hot, but it's spicy. You can feel it in the back of your throat. And it's fall off the bone. If I wiggle this anymore, it'll just slide off the bone. It's stupendous. It's very, very good. I honestly wish it was a little hotter, but maybe I'm just saying that because it's not that hot, right? But for what it is, and it's a surprisingly simple recipe, it's just spectacular. The chilies come together very nicely with the stew. And I don't eat a lot of lamb. I'm not a big lamb guy. I'm not a big sheep guy. But this is perfect. I don't think it would be better with any other meat. Maybe goat, but I'm a sucker for goat, so I'm just saying that. Here it is with the tortilla. And again, spectacular. It's sweet. Sweeter than you would expect, and it's from the chilies. It's from the guajillo chilies and the ancho chilies. Well, I would absolutely make this again, and I intend to. It took a while, but that's the nature of meat stew, right?